Hello and welcome to another Vintage Tech Talk. Today we're not going to talk about any particular piece of vintage equipment, but more of a vintage videotape. And not the tape itself, which is a green VHS tape, but what's on it. What's on it was me testing cameras at NAB in 1994. When I started my video production company, I was using Super VHS as my main format, and it stayed that way for about 7-8 years before I moved up to DV cam. So this here is one of my Super VHS decks that I've talked about in some of my other videos. I wanted to try out some new cameras because I started out with a one-chip S-vhs camcorder, an AG-455, and eventually an AG-456 because my two 455s were stolen. And so I wound up with a 456. And then I happened to do some shooting with people who had 3-chip cameras, and I wanted to upgrade because it was a much better picture. So I went to NAB 1994 to do some shopping, and I passed by a company that makes bulk VHS tapes, and they were giving out samples. So I decided to take a sample VHS tape and go over to the Panasonic booth and the JVC booth and put it in the actual camcorders and record some footage so I can do some tests. So that's what's on this tape. So it's a few minutes of looking at NAB 1994. So let's take a look back at yesteryear, NAB 1994. Besides the Panasonic and JVC booths, I went over to the B&H booth, which also kind of had everybody's cameras lined up in a shootout that they still do to this day at NAB, and recorded some footage there also because they had some combinations that they weren't showing at the Panasonic booth itself or the JVC booth. you're wondering why I didn't bring a camcorder or a camera with me into NAB, this was before I had my press credentials, which I didn't get until 97 or 98. And once you did, you were restricted in what you could bring in. The first time I went in with a camcorder, I brought in my TRV 900, which was probably in the year 2002. And you had to get one of these NAB stickers put on it, otherwise you wouldn't be allowed to bring it into the show. A few years later, when they invented smartphones and phones that had cameras and video recording on it, that all went out the window. Everybody nowadays can walk in with whatever camera you want, but back in the early days, up until about 2005, you had to get one of these stickers to go into NAB.